Hello and welcome to Roll for Topic, a roundtable discussion about topics related to running role-playing games. I'm Chris Salzman.
And I'm Andy Rao.
Oh, Andy, we are like 3 weeks out as we record this from Roll for TopicCon, and it's starting to become the crunch time where I'm like, oh no, I don't have any time for all this stuff. I keep on thinking about it in terms of like prepping for a game, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just like, well, I'm gonna do all this prep and hopefully it all works out. But like, but at a certain point, you just kind of you hit the point where it's like, well, it's just gonna be sort of what it is. We're not quite there, but yeah, it's getting down to crunch time.
And now you're not running a game, right?
I'm not running a game, okay. No, but I've got a handful of other things that I'm trying to get
for sure.
Get coordinated before the day of, yeah.
As listeners may or may not know, I don't live in the same town where the con is, but you do. So a lot of that nitty gritty work of like visiting the venue and figuring out food falls to you more than me. So
yeah.
I feel a little bad, but mostly I feel relieved.
Yeah, you should not feel bad. Yeah, the thing that I keep on meaning to check and then I forget about it and then I remember later is I'm in Ann Arbor, which is great. It's a lovely place. However, on the weekends, especially in the fall, you need to be well aware that there are football games that happen.
Oh yeah,
that I'm just like not tuned into. Sorry, listeners who are diehard fans. And it's just like sometimes this has happened a couple times where it's like, oh, there's a game. By the way,
yeah,
the game the day of the con. It's like, okay, there's going to be another 100,000 people in the city.
I've pulled into the con. I've pulled into Ann Arbor to go to the RFT con at like maybe 7:30 a.m. And there are lots of people dressed in sports colors walking around at really early in the morning.
Yeah, and they've already had a beer or two sometimes. Point, which is like, yeah, God bless them, but oof. Yeah. So Andy, you mentioned you had something you wanted to bring up right at the beginning.
I do. This is a question for you, and I'm also tossing it out to listeners. It's a request for recommendations. So my son came back from the first day of school yesterday, and I found him looking through his D&D folder.
Ooh.
And he was like, Dad, I think I'd like to try running a game again this year for my friends. So, okay, obviously that's awesome. He ran games using Shadow Dark last year.
Yeah.
Which due to just where he's at and his personality, that's as dense and crunchy mechanically as he's interested in doing.
Yeah.
So, but he said, but I'm interested in doing something sci-fi.
Ooh.
In my room, we've talked about the size of my game collection before.
Yeah.
In my house, I can get you something for almost any genre you want. I mean, like, give me a minute and I'll think of like what you could use and I'll go get it out of the basement. However, straight old ordinary sci-fi is not something I really have in my collection. And so like, here are the requirements. It needs to be like Shadow Dark level complexity, which is not complex, like some stats and a space for your equipment and like a couple of bonuses or something like that because you're a Wookiee. But like, that's about it. And combat should be mostly just theater of the mind, figure it out. Spell descriptions are like 2 sentences, not a half a page. So it needs to be that. It needs to not be like a 350 page book with small print.
Yes.
This is actually the biggest challenge. It needs to not be like horror or like Gonzo.
Yeah.
It just needs to be like Traveler, but smaller and simpler and just easy to quickly start up. So do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, what I want is a Shadow Dark version of Traveler. If there's no game that is exactly fits that itch, what's the like simplest way I could empower him to do that with like another system?
Yeah, that's
with the caveat, I can't give him like GURPS and GURPS space and tell him, look, you can do anything with GURPS. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And God love GURPS, but
no. I mean, as you started talking, I just was looking over like on my desk. I have a copy of Mothership that I'm going to be bringing to the con. I'm like, that I'm not going to play. But I mean, like, a lot of that sci-fi stuff sort of leans into the horror genre pretty quickly.
Almost all of it. I was Googling around because I was like, Mothership is exactly the mechanical density he wants. Exactly it. But there's a picture of a disemboweled astronaut on the front cover and it's about doing kind of space horror.
Yeah. Which rules, but
I mean, it rules if that's what you want, but he doesn't want it.
I'm curious, like when he says sci-fi, then like what does he mean like Star Wars?
I think he means like Han Solo,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you're in a ship, you've got a party of heroes and they go
Mhm.
around and maybe they're exploring stuff or maybe they're fighting bad guys or maybe they're just I mean these are all he'd be playing with teenagers so they're just going to be going around like
Yeah.
causing chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have some good like narrative overly clever games that can do that like
Mhm.
Scum and Villainy, but
Yeah, I was just gonna think that.
he's not that's way beyond what he's up
Yeah.
for mechanically.
Yeah, like, yeah, Scum and Villainy is almost perfect for that if it
It
was,
is,
like, a little
yes.
bit lighter, but it is a dense book to
Yeah.
read.
And the game can't really have anything narrative and improv is not his thing.
Mm.
It just needs to be like as straightforward as D&D is, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, is Starfinder an option? Like the
Starfinder
Pathfinder?
is too dense
Yeah, I was
mechanically.
gonna say. I had the
It
starter
it
set for
would
that
be
for
if there
sure.
was like a stripped down Starfinder Lite or something, it would probably be perfect.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Does the starter set for Starfinder have a stripped down?
There is an old starter set for Starfinder. I don't have it. I
Mhm.
bet I could track down a copy.
Yeah.
It's for the previous edition, but he doesn't care about
Yeah,
editions.
I also used to have a copy of it, but
Yeah.
I think it ended up on the swap table at RFTCon at some point. Yeah, I'll have to give it some thought. The one there's a system that a friend of mine has been playing, the Nimble system, and I
Okay.
don't know if that has a sci-fi variant to it, but I think it's pretty rules light, but I think it still has just a tiny bit of crunch
Okay.
to it.
Nimble, is that spelled the way the
Yeah,
regular word is? Okay.
yeah, the regular word. That might be one to look into as like for like a simple system that still has like a little bit of like progression to it, which
Yeah.
I imagine they would also like. Yeah, but I don't. There's nothing that jumps to mind. Yeah, because everything that I'm thinking about has kind of like that horror tinge to it. Yeah, right. It's like
Yeah.
the Alien RPG would again another great choice, but
Yep.
like yeah,
Alien.
yeah.
There's I have like several space horror RPGs. Death in Space,
Hmm.
Mothership, those are all like right in the correct level of complexity mechanically.
Hmm.
My GM brain is like, how hard would it be to just
Yeah,
do like Shadow Dark, but just
yeah.
rewrite it for sci-fi?
Yeah,
Like,
and but you be doing so much on the fly that like it'd be sort of hard to tell him ahead of time. Like here's
right.
all the things to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he doesn't want to wait 2 months for me to like, write
yeah,
some precious like homebrew system for him.
yeah. That's interesting. Well, I mean, I think we'll throw it to
Yeah.
the listeners. Like if
So
anyone
write
has any
in if you have a
ideas. Yeah.
suggestion for me.
The other thing, I don't know if he'd get a kick out of this. Like I almost wonder, do you still have a Vault of Midnight out by you? Like do you
We
still have
do.
a
Yes.
yeah?
Hmm.
Like a game store might also have a recommendation for something
Hmm.
small like yeah especially like Vault of Midnight, at least out here, right, they're pretty good with carrying some like more indie games that might
Hmm.
because I think like larger publisher games, right, they're always going to tend towards like let's do a higher page count. That
Right.
yeah.
And yeah, and again, I'm not criticizing any of the games I've mentioned here.
Hmm.
They all like have their niche, but for some reason, it's just not the niche my son wants. So
Yeah, it's no, it is interesting. Like I don't know if I've actually played I guess other than the Alien RPG that I played with you. I'm trying to think if I've played any like pure sci-fi games. Yeah, I played like
yeah,
some cyberpunk stuff, but like not. Yeah.
yeah, that's a cousin genre.
Yeah. I was looking up Rogue Trader. I don't think that's probably right. That's probably going to be too grim for
It's
them.
that one is a lovely game.
Mhm.
I've run and played in it,
Yeah.
but it's too. I don't like the word bespoke, but I've used it twice now in this
It's
episode.
yeah.
It's too horror tinged, and it's the version of Rogue Trader I'm thinking of, at least the one from FFG from like a decade or two ago, is pretty mechanically dense, I would
Okay.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you ruled out the Star Wars RPG, like the one with is it uses the Genesis system, I
That
think.
one's too much,
Yeah, yeah.
to mechanically too
And that is
much.
fair because it is too much.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
there is the first Star Wars RPG is much loved, and that
Mhm.
might be a possibility because it was pretty simple mechanically.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into it, and
Yeah.
I don't know the state of its availability these
Yeah.
days.
That is a fascinating question. Like, yeah, because I mean, we don't really talk about sci-fi as much on but I feel like I mean, anytime
Yeah,
that we are always talking about it, I think in terms of horror because it's like
yeah.
it just lends itself so well. well too. Yeah, to one another.
I've dragged us down this
Okay.
side path too long. So you
Mhm.
said you had something you wanted to talk about as the main topic on this episode. Let's
Yeah,
hear it.
yeah. So I had a very fun experience. So last week my family was on vacation up at this place called Beaver Island. So if you are familiar with Michigan, you might know it, but even I'm finding a lot of Michiganders have never heard of it either. So like, all the fun kind of goes to Mackinac. Beaver Island is also sort of up there in the middle
Okay.
of Lake Michigan. But yeah, but it's a lovely place. It has a town there, and there's people that live there, year round. So there's a supermarket, there's a couple of restaurants and stuff like that, and there's just also just a ton of nature up there. And so my brother-in-law and sister-in-law have a house up there that they invited us to. So we go and hang out with them, like, once a summer up there, which is super fun. But this year they have a boat. They've got a pontoon boat. So like,
Okay.
I don't know if you've been on a pontoon before, but I mean, imagine if you had a living room and you put it on top of a boat, and that's sort of what what a pontoon is. Doesn't go super fast, very comfortable. You can kind of sit around sit around and talk.
Does it still does it feel like you're on a boat? Like, do you feel embarrassed to tell people you were on a pontoon when you, or is it not quite that bad?
What I will say is that the guys running the dock made a couple comments as we were pulling out. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there was, it is the place where, like, it's not like yachts are pulling up there, but like there are
Yeah.
people in some pretty nice, like, other, leisure craft and
Yeah.
sailboats
Yeah.
and stuff like that too. And then there's us in the pontoon, and like, none of us care, right? Whatever.
Right. 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 Right.
Anyway, so one thing, like, about Beaver Island, right? So it's an island, and it has all these, like, kind of smaller islands off of it, right? And so it's sort of like it's up in Lake Michigan, right? So they've got lighthouses and stuff like that, and none of the other islands are really big enough to sustain like a full city, like that. So a couple of them are owned by, like, private, people that have their mansion on there. There's at least one that I think has like its own runway for, private
Yeah.
aircraft
I
to
got to
land.
interrupt you. Is at least one of them, please tell me at least one of them is called Forbidden Isle, and like no
Yeah.
one has set foot on there in like 300 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is foreshadowing.
Oh,
So
okay. All right. All
yeah,
right. All right.
yeah. So my brother-in-law has had this vision. There's one island that he's always wanted to get out to, right? And so the one of the guys that runs the dock, the marina. I'm very not nautical, so I don't know the appropriate terms for this. He has bought one of those islands, and he basically bought it to as a defense against someone else buying it.
Okay.
Right, because it's not really like you're not gonna, like, you could live there, you're probably not going to, right? But like
Yeah.
he wanted to make sure that it could kind of be more of a public good, I guess, if you will. But on this island, there is a couple of buildings that are falling apart, and there's an
Oh.
old dilapidated lighthouse up there too that is no longer in use, and in fact, it even has its own Wikipedia page as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, and because it was, they ended up building a different lighthouse that kind of, like, does what they need on a different island, right, in a different place. So he's wanted to get out to this place for a while, right? And he's got a pontoon, which means that you can't just, like, go out whenever. Like, all the conditions need to be exactly right for this to happen. And
The
so this
pontoon doesn't do super well in like big waves, I'm guessing.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, yeah. So like, I mean, if you're imagining like Master and Commander style, like giant waves, like, Moby Dick, like we got a man overboard, that sort of stuff. If there is a wave that is like 2 feet tall, you are feeling that thing, like everywhere on the boat. Yeah, and so the conditions were exactly right, and we're out on the water, and we're kind of just talking about. He's like, well, do we have enough time? Should we try to go to it? And it's like, yes, of course we should. So yeah, so we decided to go out to this island. So like, I bring all this up on the podcast because, like, this experience, and I'm going to get into more detail, more than anything really crystallized the idea of like what it would be like to actually go on one of these sorts of adventures, right? Like, you can
Hmm.
imagine telling your adventuring party, like, there's something on this island you need to go investigate. Like, what actually goes into that, to like get out to the island and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're on the boat. It probably takes us, like, 45 minutes or so of like of travel to
Yeah.
get out. Yeah, to get out there, to the island. And so we like kind of go by another one, and we go up there. But like, while we're going, right, and again, this is me not knowing anything about boats. Like, like my wife and my brother-in-law are kind of like pointing out the points at which the water is getting more shallow, right? You can kind of see once you start
Mhm.
looking like, oh, like there's a bunch of rocks up ahead. We got to slow down and like maneuver around and stuff. And like, yeah, pointing out like cool rock formations and stuff under the water. Like, oh my goodness, there's a big drop off there, that sort of stuff too. But yeah, so anyways, we finally get to the island, and all we've been given is sort of a rough like idea of like, oh, just go to the southwest or the southwest side of the island, or like the northwest side of the island, and you'll find a spot to kind of like, yeah, to yeah, throw down your anchor, and then you can get out to go explore the lighthouse. So we get
Wow.
out there, and like this is like 100% not how I would plan the trip, which is good because I wouldn't have done the trip.
Yeah.
Right. Of just like, oh, we're just gonna have to find a place to like throw down our anchors, right? Yeah. So we do that. And of course, I am a dummy and I've not brought any like water shoes or sandals or anything like that. So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna walk from the boat because we're 100 feet off the shore. I'm just gonna walk, in the water all the way to the shore.
Yeah.
And I get like,
Like they do in the
yeah,
movies.
like they do in the movies. And I get like 20 feet out and I'm like, my feet are getting chewed up by these rocks. Like I can't go further. So
And plus you're cradling your MacBook to try
yeah,
and keep it from getting wet,
yeah,
right? I
no, I,
assume?
I
Yeah.
know. I absolutely have like my phone in my like I have my phone in my hand. I've got my shoes in my other hand. Like I'm like like I just have this vision of like the in Jurassic Park, like the nerdy lawyer who gets
Oh,
eaten. I'm
yes.
like I'm like that prepared for this, right? Like I'd managed to throw on like a swimsuit before we left, but
Right.
yeah. So I finally decided like, okay, I got to put my shoes on. So like I've got these nice running shoes that I'm just like dunking in the water to try to put. They're not water shoes at all, but like I just got to
Right.
do something. So anyway, so like finally get that sorted out, and get up to the island, and then like so you're like we get up to that island and we're standing there, and I'm just like like looking around, and I'm telling my daughter like there's probably, I don't know, less than 1 million people that come to Beaver Island a year. I don't know what the exact number is, but like vanishingly few of those ever make it out into the water this far, like
Yeah.
in a boat, let alone people that get out and like kind of go and check out check out the
Yeah.
island. The guy that owns it, he's very gracious, and he's like, anybody who wants to go, you can go check this place out. So like there's people there, but it's like this is remote, and that like not a lot of
Yeah.
people are going there. Yeah, so we get there, and then we're like, well, how do we get to the lighthouse, right? Because it is overgrown everywhere, right? It is like you feel like you're in a Lost episode or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's no path, right? Like what do you do when there's no path? So again, I'm thinking about your adventuring party, like your standard adventuring party. They've sailed to this place. It's like, how are you going to get from point A to point B? Right, like
Mm.
this is like the classic travel, like the travel scenario. Like, and so we end up finding a way sort of through, but we encounter there's a bunch of poison ivy everywhere, right? So obviously you don't want to step in that. There's snakes all over the place too. Like
Mm.
there's bugs, like there's just plants and thistles and thorns and stuff like that. So we have to like really make our way sort of through this terrain in order to get to kind of emerge into the area where this lighthouse is. So we get up to it, and like this place is truly abandoned, right? Like there's some stuff there, like people do come there, but like it's the lighthouse is attached to a house, and so I was brave or stupid enough to like I wanted to go explore this whole thing.
Yeah.
Right, so again, I've got my phone, so I've got my flashlight, right? Like you're just wandering around this place, like it looks like a horror movie set, right? Like this is
Mm.
like the if I told you, hey, you're in a horror movie and there's this scene where you're in this abandoned house on the middle of an island, it looks exactly like that, right? Yeah, yeah, like you can feel it as you're breathing, right? There's no light anywhere. There's like old, like beer cans strewn around the place.
Yeah.
There's also a basement, and so like I'm like, well,
Oh, of course there
I
is.
gotta go in the basement,
With
right?
manacles on the wall for some reason.
Yeah, so I get down to the basement. I didn't tell my kids this at all, but like so I get down there. I mean, it's pitch black. It is like, okay, well, this place is haunted, clearly, like 100%
Right, right.
haunted, right? Like there's obviously someone who's going to like strangle me down here, or I'm going to enter some sort of time warp, or like or
Yeah,
whatever.
yes.
Yeah, so I get down there. I'm just looking around, and again, it's just like there's like old cans and stuff. It feels like Fallout. It feels like all these like these media touchstones you can imagine. I
Yeah.
find there's one sandal down there. And at that point, I'm like, no, I'm out. So I
Right.
turn around and get out. And then we go up to the top of the lighthouse, and of course, there's like spiders everywhere too. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like it's gorgeous, right? You're up in this place, and like I live a very mundane life, right? I'm in front of a computer most days. To like get out to somewhere that remote, get all the way up to this lighthouse, and then you can like look out and you're like, oh, like there's, it is a small number of people who ever make it up here,
Yeah.
in the course of a year, something like that, right? It's there's like this strange sense of accomplishment, right? That I think
Hmm.
like when you're playing games in particular, like I think that to me is like the vibe. That's like the thing that like you're trying to get at, like going on these adventures, right? Of
Yeah.
like discovery, of like, kind of getting over yourself, like your own comforts and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, it also just like, it was like, oh, this would be a fantastic scenario to have, like, right? Like
Yeah.
there was when we got inside the house, right? There was a guest book, right? Like, and the guest book was just like on the stove that was, rusting out, right? Like, so like we, signed our
Hmm.
names and stuff in there. But you could imagine like, oh, like this scenario of like there someone left, some piece of information you absolutely need. And the only place to find it is on this island, right? Like, it's like you got to get to that island and explore around and stuff. And I think you can, having gone through that experience a little bit, like it just makes me think about the times where I've reduced all of that stuff to like a single die roll, right? Of just like,
Mm.
yeah. And I think we've talked a lot about sort of like how to make travel interesting. And I think oftentimes on this podcast, whenever we come back from a trip, we kind of have the same
Yeah.
thoughts of like, oh my goodness, like, we could make this so much more
Basically,
interesting.
whenever one of us ventures into the world, like like is
Yes, yeah,
forced to by for some reason, we're like,
yes,
oh
yeah.
my gosh, Chris, have you heard about this world that's out
Yeah, have
about
you heard?
nature? Yeah.
Yeah. It's got bugs everywhere. Yeah. But yeah, but I mean just like that whole like adventure, right? It's like, yeah, getting out to go do that. And it's like it then becomes this highlight of the trip too.
Yeah.
Like this thing that like I probably, if I'm being honest with myself, was like, we're not going to do, like, please don't make me do this. Like, right, we could be on the beach instead or something like that. Yeah, but I mean, you do it and you like you get back. I'm just like that is like, yeah, that's like a highlight. Like my kids will remember that probably for the rest of their lives. Like that sort of stuff. Like it just has this huge dividend, like memory dividend, right? Like
Yeah.
if I think about it. But yeah.
And you said as a scenario, you tossed out like, oh, maybe you need some information that's only on this island.
Hmm.
But you just described going to the island for the sole reason of, hey, would we should go here. I bet it's kind of cool here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like maybe you don't need that much of a plot hook because
Hmm.
your your adventurers are going to also look at the map and say, we've never been there.
Hmm.
We see this island all the time. I wonder what's on there. I bet there's something cool there. Did you
Yeah.
like I've seen there's a old building on here or something like that. That's
Yeah.
all you need to motivate a group of curious people
Yeah.
to go check it out, right?
Totally. Yeah. And
And
I
you
think
went
like,
in the basement of your own volition, right? You didn't go down there because someone said the clue is in the basement.
yeah.
You were like, there's a basement here. It's really creepy. I'm gonna go see what's down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is just like, uh, I don't know. It felt very unlike me, but also like very, very on brand for me to be like, yeah, of course I have to go down there and
Right.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like a very interesting experience because I think you're right. Like, I mean, if you did need to give your party some sort of like hook to do something like that, throw a piece of whatever, like
Yeah.
treasures down in the basement or whatever, right? Like, there's tons of ways to make that interesting. Or like, they look at the guest book and they realize that like, I don't know, the person they've been trying to find is, checked in there 2 days
Hmm.
ago, right, and it's still on the island somewhere, right? Like there's like lots of like little ways I think that you can make that sort of like, yeah, I don't know, worth their while beyond just the like the sense of, oh, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
um yeah, but it is, I don't know, it was just cool. Like it was cool. I'm really glad we did it. I don't think I'm gonna go run out and go buy a boat or anything like that and
Yeah.
start making this like, yeah, part of my life. But yeah, it's something that, yeah, I just really wanted to kind of share and talk through.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
inspiring to hear,
Yeah.
actually, from
Yeah.
a GMing perspective. So
Yeah, it definitely will. It's like I could see myself like really, like I really could see myself just saying like the next time I'm running something like that is just a scenario that is sort of in my head. head
Yeah.
now. Like if we needed to have something at the table, it's like, okay, yeah, there's this mysterious island that we got to
Hmm.
go out to. I will also say, have you watched the show Widow's Bay yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, it is. I think you would appreciate it quite a bit. But Widow's Bay is all sort of about this like haunted island, like on the New England, yeah, haunted like New England
Okay.
island.
Yep.
There were definitely some of those vibes about the whole thing
Uh huh.
too. But yeah, um,
Well, hey, that's
yeah,
awesome, Chris. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing.
yeah. Of course, yeah. I think that is about it. Yeah. Do you have anything else that you wanted to chit chat about?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the question I like to ask you when, one of us recounts an experience like this is just, what are you going to take from it into your next GMing? And
Hmm.
you've just said that, you could see yourself running this whole thing as a scenario almost by itself.
Yeah.
But like, so how is there anything from this experience that you're going to take to like your next D&D campaign that's not on an island? But
Yeah.
that probably does feature travel into, like, interesting places?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Yeah, I think there was a sense of time passing that I think like I often sort of I don't know, step aside, like or step over in those games, right? Because like there was, there's like downtime, right? Of like, yeah, you're kind of like you got downtime on the boat, you got downtime while one person is scouting ahead, right?
Mhm.
Like all those sorts of things, right? So I think like that stuck out to me more than anything. This like with this kind of real world experience. I mean that too, and just like the little ways in which nature makes things hard on you, right? It's like
Yeah.
yeah, I think like it is pretty easy when you're playing a game and they have like these terrain rules of like, okay, like if you're on rocks, take a -2 penalty.
Mhm.
It's easy for me to just sort of be like, I'm not going to do that, right? But like,
Yeah.
like legitimately making our way across, 200 feet of rock, right, took twice as long.
That might be
Yeah,
the hardest thing your adventurers do all day,
yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like it would not be that hard to swing your sword at a rat, but like, yeah, trying to actually get across all this all these rocks without falling into poison ivy is like that's a pretty major a pretty major thing to do,
Yeah.
especially if you're like yeah hauling around all your plate mail and stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool. All right, well I think that will do it for us. Yeah, thanks all for listening. Yeah, please, if you have any ideas for Andy for what sci-fi game his kids should run, yeah, reach out. But yeah, I think that'll do it for us. Yeah, if you want to catch Andy, you can catch Andy and John Corey on Zombie Strains if you need more Andy in your life. I started listening to your episode on the Omega Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, while I was on vacation, which is really good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, cool. All right, well that does it for us. I've been Chris Salzman.
I've been Andy Rao.
Remember, if your player's having fun, you're a great GM.